Thank you all for being here today. I first want to thank Ronnie Minter, a courageous survivor of sexual violence in prison, for joining us here today, as well as Jennifer, the Executive Director of the Correctional Association of New York, which has the solemn and challenging task of monitoring New York State prisons. We have also been joined by other advocates here, as you all can see, as well as colleagues from the legislature, including sponsors of two of these bills, Assemblyman David Weprin and Assemblywoman Judelka Tapia, as well as the caucus chair, Michaela Solage. We are here to speak meaningfully about a topic that is important to all of us as New Yorkers, public safety. I wish we didn't have to be here to talk about how our state has failed to protect people in custody, New Yorkers who find themselves in jail or prison. I wish we didn't have to bring urgent attention to the fact that just last month, at least 15 employees at Marcy Correctional Facility near Utica, public servants who work for all of us, felt so emboldened by a culture of impunity within the prison system that they beat and tortured an incarcerated man, Mr. Robert Brooks, to death. They did this to Mr. Brooks even as the officers were wearing body-worn cameras that captured their own horrific actions. Can any of us imagine callously killing someone at work and thinking that we would get away with it?
Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks!
It is unimaginable, and yet it is true. Not only in this one incident with Robert Brooks, but in previous cases from our state prison system. Today, we are here to demand justice for Robert Brooks.
Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
And to take legislative action as well against the culture of violence and impunity that has long plagued our state prisons. Now, by any objective metric, New York remains among the safest places in America, but heart-stopping headlines, violence on the subway, to the unspeakable act of violence against Robert Brooks have prompted New Yorkers to ask, what is going on here? Today, we are all saying it does not have to be this way. In New York, we can provide treatment, not jails and prison, for those with the greatest need. In New York, we are capable of investing in our communities through housing, education, workforce training, and more to prevent violence before it begins. And we can ensure that New Yorkers entrusted to the state's care are treated with more dignity, more respect, and more compassion, not violently beaten to death with impunity.
Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks!
We can protect public safety, and it starts with cleaning up our own house. Simply put, prison safety is public safety. These are
Yeah! Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
As legislators, we have a responsibility to make prisons safer than this. That is why today we are focusing on 3 bills. While the list of comprehensive reforms needed to our prison and criminal legal systems remains long, no doubt, we believe that if these bills that we are discussing today had already been law, it is possible that Robert Brooks would still be alive.
Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks!
The first bill would enable the DOCS commissioner, who oversees our state prisons, to ultimately discipline and fire DOCS staff when they are found responsible for serious misconduct.
Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
Right now, if you are an officer who's alleged to have engaged in violent misconduct, the DOCS commissioner does not have the final say in disciplining or firing you. Rather, an unaccountable arbitrator runs a hearing process during which time the officer is not necessarily subject to any discipline.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
That outside arbitrator, not the DOCS commissioner nor the governor, has the final say on consequences for an employee's violent actions in these cases. Why is this a problem? Well, we know, for example, since 2010, according to the Marshall Project, DOCS has tried to fire abusive officers in at least 290 cases, but only 28 of those cases resulted in termination.
Shut them down! 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 Shut them down!
In 4,000 occasions, when DOCS has tried to fire officers for problematic behavior, they have only been able to do so 7% of the time. The guards who beat a man in Attica, for example, so badly that he needed 13 staples to close the gashes in his scalp, not fired. Officers who battered a man who was experiencing a mental health crisis, injuring him from face to groin so badly that he took his own life the next day in desperation, not fired. Guards who beat a man to death in Clinton Correctional Facility in 2016 were never subjected to any discipline. They not only killed that man, but they also cost New York's taxpayers more than $9 million as a result. Even today, the employees caught on camera ruthlessly killing Robert Brooks have not yet lost their jobs. They remain only suspended.
Fire the CEOs! Fire the CEOs! Fire the CEOs! Fire the CEOs! Fire the murderer! Fire the CEOs! Fire the murderer! Fire the murderer! Fire the murderer! Fire the murderers! Accountability! Accountability!
Making this change, it is simply common sense. The second bill would establish a new independent office of the correctional ombudsperson staffed by investigators and monitors, overseen by a new and independent correctional oversight board. Right now, if even the governor or a member of the legislature wants to pick up the phone and learn all about the problems persisting in our state prisons, we cannot actually do that. No independent government entity exists that can give us that information.
Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks!
DOCS itself does not compile or track this information in a way that is reliable or useful to us, and that is a problem.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Right now, the complaint process for an incarcerated individual is dysfunctional and unreliable. Knowing that the DOCS system is rife with violence, cover-ups, and inadequate transparency, incarcerated individuals cannot trust that they will get help when they need it, or even alert someone on the outside who could act. At this time, there is not one agency that has its sole mission of holding DOCS accountable, and that is a problem. That is why we need an office of the correctional ombudsperson and a correctional oversight board, both independent of DOCS and to be fully funded. Both would also be accountable to the governor and the legislature and would reveal to us what is really going on inside prisons.
Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
The third bill I want to mention today would grant the Correctional Association of New York, the nonprofit organization currently tasked with a legislative mandate to monitor our prisons, with the basic tools it needs to do its job.
Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
Tools such as the ability to show up to a prison unannounced, as opposed to the current case of the Correctional Association having to provide 72 hours notice before any monitoring visit, tools like allowing a sufficient number of inspectors to enter special housing units, commonly referred to as solitary confinement, to actually be able to observe and report on conditions. Tools like full access to DOC's incident reports, not the packets DOC submits that are so heavily redacted that they are useless. The current lack of these tools has allowed, for example, DOCs to get away with reporting as unknown the cause of 199 deaths of individuals in DOC's custody since the year 2000.
No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace!
If you can believe it, in at least 21 of those cases, DOCs redacted the cause of death in their reports entirely. Without the video footage that Attorney General Tish James publicly released showing the fatal beating of Robert Brooks at Marcy, we might be looking at yet another report from DOCs, completely redacted with no public knowledge of what happened to Robert Brooks.
Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks! Robert Brooks!
Now, as I've mentioned, these three bills are only a few among a much longer list. Today, I would like to recognize and thank the advocates who have been fighting for these reforms for many years, many of whom are with us here today. Our partners in this effort include, and are not limited to, Release Aging People in Prison campaign, the Halt Solitary campaign, the Jails Justice Network, New Hour for Women and Children, the Alliance of Families for Justice, the Communities Not Cages Coalition, and many more. In this somber moment, I am also encouraged to say that we have had positive conversations with DOCs and with the executive chamber, but Robert Brooks' death has made one thing very clear.
Shut it down! 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 Read it clear!
Robert Brooks' death has made very clear that we have an immediate obligation to act so as to prevent this from ever happening again.
Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
We must all remember that incarcerated individuals are our fellow New Yorkers, members of our families, our communities.
That's right.
And while that should be sufficient, the vast majority will also eventually return home to our communities.
That's right. Yes, we do. They don't kill them.
Violence against anyone, that's right, in our prisons today
Violence
begets
against all of us.
trauma and violence in our communities tomorrow. That is how this works.
That's right.
New Yorkers expect us. They have entrusted us as legislators to fight for their safety.
And humanity.
And humanity. In part, this means passing these bills. It means closing Marcy, which has long
Shut it down! Shut it down!
of violence and misconduct. This is why, along with Assemblyman Gibbs, with the chair of the Black Puerto Rican Hispanic Asian Caucus, Michael Solage, I sent a letter signed by many of you here, more than 60 legislators 2 weeks ago, calling for Marcy to be closed.
Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
We know we are going to need the governor in this fight ultimately, and I will note that she and her staff have kept an open, positive, and constructive line.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
We share a commitment to bringing long overdue change to DOCs. Despite our differences, the governor and I have worked together before to achieve progress for New Yorkers on tough issues. We expect to partner on this with support from my colleagues in government, following the vision and unrelenting work of human rights advocates across the state. It is time for us to take swift and bold action to achieve public safety for all New Yorkers, those inside and those outside. It does not have to be this way. And it can be better. It is up to all of us to make it so.
Hold the book, keep others accountable. Should not turn into a death sentence. Arrest the murderers! 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 Lock their ass up! Lock their ass up! Say
I want to quickly introduce Ronnie, who is going to share her remarks.
Talk
Thank
about
you
it,
so
Ronnie.
much, Ronnie.
Love you, Ronnie.
Talk about it, Ronnie. We got your back.
Hi,
No retaliation here.
my name is Ronnie Minter, and I'm the founder of the Freedom Unshackle Coalition. We are also a member of the People's Campaign for Parole Justice, but today I'm speaking to you as a formerly incarcerated woman. During my time at Albany Correctional Facility, I witnessed unspeakable violence against the women in there. 90% of it was committed by the correctional staff. When we were threatened or assaulted, we had nowhere to turn. Because I'm going to give you an example. If we were threatened or assaulted by officer's side, how could we report him to the depth of security, depth side, who was his brother? The nepotism runs rampant within the Department of Corrections.
That's right. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Robin Brooks, Robin Brooks, Robin Brooks, Robin Brooks.
The murder of Robin Brooks by the correctional staff, who incidentally are still not charged, has opened the eyes of many who didn't realize what we, the formerly incarcerated, already know. This happens all the time.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Yo, raise your hand if it happened to you while you was in there while we here. Raise your hand. Does it happen to me in more than one jail? You can keep talking, sister.
Just recently, the Freedom Unshackle Coalition was made aware of a brutal beating at Albany County Jail at the hands of correctional officers, 2 within the last 2 weeks. Let's be clear, incarcerated men are not the only ones being brutally beaten by correctional staff. Incarcerated women endure the same violent attacks. These abuses are far too common and demand immediate action. We need true oversight, an independent entity not staffed by former correctional officers. And this oversight must extend to parole officers. My parole officer raped one of his parolees. Too many incidents go unreported of fear of retaliation or losing a chance of release. These abuses occur in state prisons, city jails, county jails, and even youth facilities. Senator Salazar's 3-bill approach is a critical step toward reform. But we also need parole justice. Pairing elder parole and fair and timely parole with these reforms will help dismantle the toxic, violent culture of corrections in New York State.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Robin Brooks, Robin Brooks, Robin Brooks, Robin Brooks, Robin Brooks, Robin Brooks.
It is time to act. It is time to reimagine what justice really looks like. It is time to tear down the toxic, violent, murderous culture of corrections.
Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Scape. I'm the executive director of the Correctional Association of New York.
Hey, Jen.
Which is a nonprofit organization charged, as Senator Salazar said, with monitoring the state's prisons, which the organization has done for nearly 2 centuries. This looks like going into prisons to observe conditions and hear the accounts firsthand from incarcerated people about the treatment that they receive and the conditions that they are living in. We have heard the kinds of accounts that the public has now seen in that body cam footage recorded at Marcy on December 9th. And we know that this is not an isolated incident limited to Marcy Correctional Facility or
That's right. No, it
its
isn't.
staff. And we also know from that video recording how important transparency is in order to bring about accountability and lasting reform.
Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
We are moved by Senator Salazar's leadership and this package of bills. The prison safety is public safety slate is a crucial step toward bringing about that transparency and accountability that I believe could lead to lasting change in the prison.
Not for Robin.
Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Robin Brooks! Shut it down! Shut it down!
In particular, the bill that would strengthen the authority of the Correctional Association of New York would grant the organization access to data and records from the department and other state agencies that will allow us to identify trends in not just use of force or unusual incidents, but also things like grievances and other complaints.
Stop. Not enough! 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 Not enough!
You're not gonna do that.
We have lived experience in this.
You're not gonna do that. We're gonna keep it real.
Close Marcy now!
We're gonna keep it real here.
Close
Keep it real.
Marcy
We're gonna do
now!
it right. We're gonna do it right.
To continue, in support of Senator Salazar's package here, the Prison Safety is Public Safety Act, a package of bills, these reforms are necessary first steps because without the information, without the data, without the thing that you can point to say, look, we've heard it for years, but here it is in living color, here is the proof. The reforms.
Shut it down! 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 We had data for decades. Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!
I hear the rage. And just allow me to finish. Allow me to finish.
Survivors of that day. Make it
So allow me to finish.
That data don't mean nothing. Oh, guys.
We have public data on our website. I
Make
invite
it public.
everyone to go
Make
to
it
our
public.
website and see it. Thank you, Senator Salazar, for your leadership and your courageous, bold vision with these bills. Thank you.
Say his name!
Robin Brooks!
Say his name!
Robin Brooks!
We are now here from Assemblymember Dorinda Hooks from the 35th Assembly District.
Oh! Rob to go to get into the fist.
We are all here today for justice.
That's right.
I am a mother of a formerly incarcerated son
Come on,
who
Loretta.
was beat
Come
by
on.
8 officers
Come on.
when he was in prison. He did a crime, he was doing his time, but that don't mean he don't get justice.
That's right.
We are here today to say that along with Robert Brooks, along with my son, along with every incarcerated individual who have crimes committed against them, we want justice.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
No more talking. It is time for reform. We've heard the story again and again, and it is this juncture right now that we have to make a change in order for everyone to be safe when they are doing their time according to what the law has said.
Right.
That does not mean you get beat up. You live with long-lasting side effects from that. You don't get any, if something happens to you, you don't get any medical treatment afterwards. You get thrown in a box right after that. They are dictating what they want to do with our individuals who are incarcerated. And that stops today. We are here to say that not my son, not anybody else's son, we want reforms today.
Shut it! Shut it! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Justice for
Robin Brooks!
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 Justice for
Robin
district.
Yes, that's right.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
I am the Welker Taffy Assembly member for the 86th Assembly District from the Boogie Down Bronx.
Yes.
And I am the sponsor in the Assembly of the first bill that Senator Salazar just told us when she spoke. I want to thank her for her rapid response to what's happening in our jails forever. But good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And thank you again to Senator Salazar for your leadership on this critical issue. The tragic death of Robert Brooks is not an isolated incident.
That's right.
It is a glaring reminder of the systemic violence in our prisons.
Speak truth.
It's a common everyday occurrence.
Public safety isn't a real unless it includes every single one.
That's right. Accountability.
On our streets, in our homes, and yes, in the care of the state. For too long, New York's prison system has been defined by a culture of impunity,
That's right.
where violence by public employees goes unchecked.
Yes, it
That
does.
ended today, guys. We are
Right.
working on it.
Robert Brooks. Robert Brooks. Robert Brooks. Say his name. Robert Brooks. Say his name. Robert Brooks. Say his name. Robert Brooks.
This legislation is about accountability, transparency, and putting an end to the shameful legacy.
That's right, though. Go ahead.
Communities like mine in the Bronx feel the weight of these failures. Too many families know the harm caused by a justice system that perpetuates violence instead of rehabilitation. We owe it to Robert Brooks and every person victimized in our prisons to ensure this never happen again.
We owe it to his family.
This is about rebuilding trust, valuing dignity, and upholding justice.
That's right.
New Yorkers deserve a system that reflects our highest values, not our all worst failures. Let's act now to make prisons safer.
No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace.
Hold people accountable and protect every life in the care of the state. Guys, let's do this. We can do it.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Say his name. Robert Brooks. Say his name. Robert Brooks. Say his name. Robert Brooks. Yeah. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace.
You will now hear from Assemblymember David Webber from the 24th District.
Woo! Come on, Dave.
Good afternoon. I'm Assemblyman David Webrin. I now chair the Insurance Committee. But until 2023, I proudly served as chair of the Correction Committee
We miss you, Dave.
for 6 years. The tragic and reprehensible killing of Robert Brooks at Marcy Correctional Facility highlights the need for improved transparency and accountability in our correctional system.
That's right.
We only know the circumstances of this incident because of a transparency measure that we passed over the years, and that's body cameras. My bill, which Chair Salazar carries the Senate, would strengthen oversight within the correctional facilities ensuring that the Correctional Association of New York State, who we just heard from, is empowered to monitor conditions and hold facilities accountable. The bill establishes clear mechanisms to address problems preventing neglect, violence, and unsafe conditions. CANI was founded in 1844 and was tasked with monitoring prisons and to report their findings to the New York State Legislature.
I'm sorry, you're not doing a good job.
As the
Not
general public.
Not that I know.
Robert Brooks' death at Marcy Correctional is a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers of an unchecked system. The death highlights the urgent need
To shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
This legislation is a direct response to that call for action. Right, Eddie?
Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
Protecting the rights of incarcerated individuals, prioritizing their safety, and making it clear that reform is necessary for a just and humane system.
Say his name!
Robert Brooks!
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 No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Justice!
These bills are not about one individual. It is about ensuring that no one else suffers what Robert did. By passing these bills, we are sending a strong message that the safety of those in our prisons matter. And we are committed to a systematic change for a safer, more accountable system. I also am the prime sponsor of the Fair and Timely Parole Bill, which is about time, in memory of Robert Brooks, we should finally pass fair and timely parole and elder parole this year.
We miss you, Dave. We miss you, Dave.
Shut it down! 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 Shut it down!
Thank you, Senator Julia Salazar, for bringing us together, and hopefully this will be the year that we'll get this done.
Say his name! Robert Brooks! Say his name! Robert Brooks! Say his name! Robert Brooks!
We will now hear from the People's Caucus Chair, the person that gathered everyone together and started doing the work and really put out a strong statement regarding justice for Robert Brooks. Let us hear from Chairwoman Solange.
Say his name.
Robert Brooks!
Say his name.
Robert Brooks!
And to all the other names that we don't know about, all the other names that the families know, and that they have not been provided justice. We say their names in our heart. I stand here as one person, but I stand here also representing the Black, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, and Asian Legislative Caucus. And we demand justice for Robert. And our justice is not just going to be legislative. We want to change the system and eradicate the systematic racism that targets our community.
That's right.
And so we are tired of words. I'm not going to sit here and make a speech. I want action.
Right.
We want the package of legislative bills. We want system change. We want reallocation. We want it all.
Make it happen. Make it happen.
And it's sad that we have to stand here and remember Robert Brooks. He should be alive here today.
Say his name! Robert Brooks! Say his name! Robert Brooks! Say his name! Robert Brooks!
So we want accountability. We want these bills now. We don't want to wait till the end of session having discussions.
That's right.
We need to do it right up front, and we're ready to do it now.
Right now!
We don't get it!
Shut it down!
We don't get it! Shut it down! We don't get it! Shut it down!
We will now have Q&A.
Any questions from the press?
chamber, both about the situation at Marcy specifically, but also about these 3 bills and legislation to try to transform our prison system. And I look forward to continuing those conversations with Governor Hochul and her team.
We want to shut it down. 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 Okay, we don't want to talk to the governor. We want to shut it down. 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 That's what we here to do.
We want it as soon as possible.
We want it closed now.
Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down.
It's not required that it be done in the budget. The governor has the authority to direct the closure of Marcy Correctional Facility as it is right now. And so, you know, we really want to work with the executive chamber to make that happen.
I asked the Senate leader today if she supports the closure of Marcy, and she wouldn't answer the question.
Why not?
She just said thank you.
What's your name? Who you at?
Listen.
Is leadership on board with you? We discussed this with that.
We've also had constructive conversations. I will note that the authority, the ability to direct a correctional facility to close does come from Governor Hochul, and that is exactly why we expressed our demands and concerns to the governor, and we'll continue to have those conversations.
Shut it down! 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 Y'all want to ask real questions and want real answers? I'll be at the chamber on the 3rd floor. I got something for the world. Shut it down! Shut it down!
Governor Hochul can close Marcy right now.
Right now.
She doesn't need anyone.
I got a question. Hey, what about Fishkill, Auburn, and the other facilities?
Shut it down! Shut it down! All them slave plantations be shut down.
On the back. What's the call? Free 'em all.
Have you discussed with the union about getting, having to, if you want officers to be fired more easily, if you're not, have you started to start conversations about getting that done?
We're open to discussing this with the correction unions, but I want to make it very clear. The fact is, we need the commissioner to have the ability to fire officers because it's very important that
Closing Marcy is a step in the right direction. We want them less than the police. We don't want them to die. Yo, we don't care about the union. We don't care about the union. We don't care about the union. Dismantle the union. Get rid of the union. We don't care about no unions. We care about justice. Those are the questions and answers.
This question is relevant to organizing for prisons to be closed. It is relevant to organizing for justice, not only for Robert Brooks, but in every case. And the reason is we are most effective in our organizing when we have a target we can move. You cannot pressure a faceless arbitrator to do the right thing. But
What do you want? Justice! Who do you want for? Who do you want for?
That's not it.
Who do you want for?
This is about race in America.
This is about justice and accountability.
No police is going to police
one white person that's been killed. You can't name one white person that's been killed by the union. You know about the union. We don't care about no union. Their job is to protect the officers.
Shut it down.
Not injustice.
Arrest them.
Unions is protecting, not justice.
Wait, time out. You know how to do the law when it's against us. But you don't forget how to execute the law against white people. You lock up black people every day. Give them 100,000 years. 14 officers on camera.
This shit's been going on.
On camera.
Been going on.
On camera.
This been going on. Union. Fuck the union. I was subject to that. I got taken away to show you. I'm talking about the union. We want the government to make arrests. We want the DA to make arrests. We don't care about the union. Make arrests.
What happened to care, custody,
Make
and control?
arrests.